Okay, we're on. This is Chris from the KC Way.
And this is Steve from the KC Way. How you doing?
We're here to discuss a little bit about the World Cup. Right now, France has a match against Spain. I think they're evenly matched. I think it ought to be a great contest. I think I give the slight edge to France, but really looking forward to Argentina versus England tomorrow. I have sentimental reasons for picking England. I think Argentina is the more dominant team, but it's been 60 years since England won the World Cup. I was 2 years old, so I am looking forward to that. Also, Steve was a professional boxer, and I like boxing very much, and I was looking into a video I'd seen about a female boxer. I think she was from Kazakhstan or something like that. Her name was Angelina Lucas, and it was a video, and then I looked her up, and there were several claims that she, the video shows that she bites opponents, she elbows them in the back of the head, she has fixed fights, goes with an entourage of about 20 guys to the ring to be intimidating, and there's even reports of threats being made to the opponents and their management, threats of their life, threats to the promoter, intimidation all the way around. So I did search some of her videos and a lot of reports on her. She is, I guess they want her to fight in the United States, and you can't get away with some of the stuff you do over there in the former Soviet Union. Her team's not going to come in the United States and Vegas or something and try to pull that. We've got our own elements to deal with, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I told Steve to check out some of her videos. So what did you find?
Well, I watched a couple of her videos last night in her championship fight, and you're right. She's good and dirty. I watched her bite people, hit them in the back of the head. Everything she could get away with, or they let her get away with. And there was one fight that I thought was pretty interesting. She was fighting a girl that I think was 3-9, and she lost all 3 rounds. Between the third and the fourth round, her manager stops the fight for reasons unknown. And so I thought, wow, that sounds like a setup fight to me. They wanted to stop it before she really got exposed. And if she's going to come to the United States and get away with that stuff, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it was. I'd never heard of her until I just happened to, checking out boxing videos. I usually like those one-punch knockout videos where they say they get them chicken legs and things. And I also like to watch the videos where the so-called fake masters of martial arts take on real Thai fighters and stuff, and then you see, especially the no-touch masters, that they can knock you out like it's Street Fighters or Hadouken or whatever. Also, we need to talk about the World Cup in Kansas City. I think that we did an excellent job as a host city. I looked at Arrowhead in all its glory, and what saddens me is in a few more years, it's just going to be a memory. My opinion, Clark Hunt's about money and prestige. He took less seats from the citizens to give luxury boxes to this new Arrowhead. He took about, 10,000 seats away from the, and I don't care what kind of stadium you build, what it looks like, what concessions you have. Bottom line is it's not Arrowhead. That's like saying Soldier Field indoors or something. It doesn't sound right. Lambeau Field. It's history. And as far as the AFC goes, the AFL, Arrowhead's it. I don't care what Vegas got. Vegas ain't been able to win in their stadium. doesn't matter what kind of stadium you build. Arrowhead has a legacy, and it's really going to break my heart to see them level such a thing. It was never about the fans. It was never about the people. You're not trying to give them a better experience. You're not. And, this tax that they put on years ago, I was a young man, we were never supposed to pay that kind of tax. There was a sports authority that, with a lot of things in Kansas City, are mishandled, just like with the boats. Where's all this money for education when schools today are having to cut programs? It's just greed, man. It's greed. We have loyal fans in Kansas City, always had, and it's never enough. And, the first tax thing, I believe, was 5 years, and then it went another 5 or I think 7, and now 10, and then they want to do 20. When does it end? When did I have to stop paying for the second richest NFL coach
Second you're
owner?
dead, you stop paying.
Yeah. Well, bottom line is he's the second richest owner in the NFL, and my little paycheck means everything to me. I don't have excess. I don't have, I can't just sit there and parking is outrageous. Parking
How much
at
is parking
Arrowhead.
now?
I think something like $50 or better.
$50.
Yeah, man, you used to have a whole day out for $50 in the old Herald. I understand, but the inflation is not matching, and people can't afford. So you're just making it for the elite and not the fan. It's sad to me. It breaks my heart to think that Arrowhead may be rubble someday. That's just sad. And it's holding its own after all these years in use. In this World Cup, Arrowhead held its own. Still the outdoor stadium, still the loudest in the Guinness Book of World Records. And I don't care what you build, wherever you build it, it ain't going to be Arrowhead. It's not going to compete with Arrowhead. Sometimes you got to see past your billfold. And as the economy is going in the toilet, I cannot afford to pay for billionaires' enjoyment, Think about the people. We've always been loyal. We've always been so loyal since the day you moved from Dallas. Kansas City has been, and no, Kansas City, Kansas is not the same as Kansas City, Missouri. I have family over there. I love Kansas City, Kansas, but Missouri has a mystique, and to do this is just to me a betrayal. You guys can sound off on what you think. That's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it.
Tell them what you think, folks. Let me know right away.
Right. And so what do you think about it, Steve? How do you feel?
Well, it's all business. I like the old Arrowhead. I like the way it was set up. And, it's been that way for many, many years, as long as I can remember. And I hate to see it go too, but that's probably progress. I mean, that's the way of the world, The money, you go where the money flows.
Yeah, don't make it right to me. Also, I remember the games in Municipal Stadium. I remember seeing the Royals and stuff down there, and I love the Royals, man. But if it comes down to me being able to afford my lifestyle, which is nothing compared to these millionaires, I gotta think of me. Straight out, I hated to see the Kansas City Kings leave. I hated that. They were competitive, and we were loyal. They just, and I would love for us someday. I love our women's soccer team. I love our men's soccer team. I would love someday to get a WNBA team in here. I back Patrick Mahomes on that. I think Patrick Mahomes is loyal to Kansas City, Missouri, and I believe that Travis Kelce is too. Congratulations on the marriage. You see what shooting your shot does. I'm happy for you. Anybody complains about, they didn't have it. You know what? They didn't have to have anything. They could have went off to some island and got married, and none of you could have went there. to say that you were there. That right there means something today to whoever you are, Swifties. I'm not a Swiftie. I don't dislike her. I was a Kelsey fan because I'm a football fan. Always have been. So I learned to like or learn to know more about Taylor Swift because of Travis Kelsey, not the other way around. I know you little girls love her. I didn't go flipping crazy when they announced they were engaged. I didn't sit there. My mind was on the game, the first one she showed up against Chicago. But I don't dislike her. I can't sit there and say I listen to her music. I've heard a few songs on the radio. I did listen to more after they got engaged. But like I said, I hope this is a lifelong thing for them. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for them. Anyway, their $1 million concerns aren't mine. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about your past, Steve. I remember you from the streets. I remember seeing you in a couple of street brawls. I've been there for a few.
Well, I had a few, but none of them were as tough as Taylor Swift, let me tell you. Watch out, Patrick. She got Kelsey, she got a vicious left hook. So,
I think the judges favored her. That's why you lost. But, but let's...
It was a setup.
What was funny about you is, I knew about things that happened when we were younger, and what shocked me is when I heard that you were boxing, and then what really shocked me is when I heard you went pro in the heavyweight, and I knew about that, and at that point I never went to see a fight of yours. I just heard about you, and then I saw that big fight they had at Municipal Auditorium. I guess it was like a thing called a mile thing or something. And I know Duran was in town. It was on pay-per-view. And so I'm at my uncle's house, and we're watching the fight. And they go back into, Duran's dressing room. And we see, little entourage back there and everything. And then they're going back and forth to the dressing room between fights and rounds. Then we see somebody says, "Hey, man, is that Steve Earle?" I'm looking and I'm like, "Nah, man." I said, "What happened?" Mother effing Steve Earle's in Duran's dressing room, and then when you guys are marching to the ring, I see you with your hands and walking to the ring. It made my ass laugh. And Duran put on a good fight. He won, and I bet you he didn't want to leave Kansas City after that because the crowd was definitely pro Duran. We got a lot of Hispanics in here. And if people don't know, he goes as Panamanian, but his father was Mexican descent. And that's when I started looking more into your career, boxing-wise. But I'd known you since the street days, 80s and stuff. Yeah. So, I'd always... I wasn't a fan. I was a friend first, and then I started knowing more about your actual pro boxing, and I'd seen you at a couple of clubs where you were in charge of security or bouncing or whatever. I remember Jared Allen's. I used to miss that place. But we go back quite a while, quite a ways.
All the way back to the Mora days.
Yeah, Mora's. Shout out to Mora's. The good old days.
I can't remember what year that was. I know it was the early 80s.
Early 80s. And, up until then I'd heard about you, but it never really crossed our paths. And it was just, what amazes me is we've seen a lot of our compatriots, they're either not here or, they're ill or they've fallen to illness and other things. And it amazes me some of the things that we went through that we're still here.
Oh, yeah.
And relatively healthy. I ain't going to sit there and say I feel like dancing, but when I first saw you, it was actually probably in the 70s when you came down to a party with a friend of mine, and she brought you in to the party, and I saw you dancing. And I sit there and said, look at this motherfucker. Good looking dude coming in here and dancing that good. I'm like, you got to throw his ass out of here. How dare you try to show us up? But what was funny is when we got to know each other and you told me that that's actually what you wanted to be, was a dancer, a professional dancer.
I used to love to dance all the time. Had fun, won a few contests. I remember I won the contest up at the UCM, and for a whole year, the people started calling me the Disco King because that's all I would do is dance, you know. Yeah. And you know, when I became a boxer, it really helped me out because I was able to move around the ring a lot, didn't get hit. You know, my career, it was short-lived because of an accident. I didn't get in there to my 30s, and I had to quit in my early 40s. But, you know, it was a rough climb to get to it because when I got there, I only weighed 180 pounds, and then they made me fight heavyweight, you know, 220, 230,
yeah,
240.
Yeah.
I fought him as big as 250, and I only weighed 185 pounds. So that wasn't really fair, but, you know, I had to do it. And, you know, some were good, some were bad. A couple of them were even great. You know, I shocked the world a couple of times. But, you know, no matter what, I had fun. And to me, it's good memories.
Well, you know, back in the day when we were younger, there was a lot more, I think, boxing clubs. I don't know if there's as many. I remember almost every kind of neighborhood center had a boxing club. You had Don Bosco, you had, Tomahawk, you had Bell Rec, you had the Argentine Parish. Whatsoever. You had a lot of them, and it kind of went to the wayside. I still like boxing a lot more than I like UFC. I don't care what, I just like, I enjoy it better. I kind of mix, UFC to me looked like a glorified American Gladiators. I don't know. I know these guys are athletes, but it gets ridiculous. I like just two straight up dudes going in there, and I remember as a kid being from Kansas City, Tony Schiavone.
Oh yeah.
You know, that was my local hero, and I think he was, you know, he represented it as good as he could. Some of my influences were like, who I liked was Danny Little Red Lopez, Pepino Cuevas, you know, other Hispanic boxers. I could even appreciate Hector Camacho. He was a showboat, but he had skills, you know. Love Cesar Chavez, and I am distantly related to Salvador Sanchez, the great Salvador Sanchez, and Lord look over him, God rest him, you know. So, who were your influences? I remember Tommy Morrison when he was in Kansas City. I love Tommy Morrison, man. You know, it's a shame, just a shame.
Tommy was a nice kid when I met him, but he wasn't my influence. The guy got me started was Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Oh yeah.
When I seen him in the 80s, right then I wanted to be a boxer.
I remember him in was it Vito Antuofermo?
Vito Antuofermo.
Yeah, he was one of my favorites. Marvelous Marvin. I remember the fight with him and Tommy Hearns when he cut him and they thought they were going to call the fight. Mm-hmm. Was it three rounds?
Three rounds.
Boy, they threw ass. One of my favorite was finally, you know, during the Olympics, I supported Sugar Ray Leonard. He was, you know, but he was another arrogant. So I was very happy when Duran beat him in that first fight. Duran was a little bull, but there again, when he didn't take stuff serious, he would blame everything else than his lack of training or lack of taking a fight serious. You know, you can't sit on that. I hated. I couldn't stand Muhammad Ali, but I got to give him his chops. You know, he was bad. He was fast for a heavyweight. Of course, Mike Tyson. You know, one of the fastest and most powerful. Tommy Morrison had a left hook. I thought that matched anything Mike Tyson had. There again, when you want to surround yourself with the party rather than the
Training.
Yeah, that's what happens to you. I've seen a few videos about his lifestyle, and I'm really saddened, man, because I'd seen him down in the Camp Arena and stuff, you know. I even saw him when Stallone was in this corner because they were actually filming for Rocky Five. Matter of fact, I thought I saw you and some of the locals backtracking down the hallway and security coming the other way. That was a Morrison fight down at Kemper.
Yeah, no, I was ringside at that one. I was sitting with the actor. I can't even think of his name right now. The actor thought he was a boxer. Mickey Rourke.
Oh yeah. He got the
And,
face of a boxer now.
And what was funny though here, Mickey Rourke fought somebody here, and I guess he brought in his own opponent. And long story short, he threw a left hook, and the guy put his right hand up and caught it, and then fell down like he was knocked out. And it was all good until they showed it on the big screen in slow motion, and everybody knew that he really didn't knock this guy out. It was a setup fight.
Cherry
And
picking.
so he was kind of like going downhill after that, you know.
Yes, cherry picking. Yeah, you know, I miss COVID. Kind of jacked a lot of things up, especially with the entertainment thing. Kansas City used to be an area where you could go see a lot of live music, and it really, because of the law, it really just ended. A lot of my friends that were playing live and all that stuff couldn't get jobs because you couldn't be in clubs. You had to social distance and everything. A lot of restaurants went bad after COVID, and I miss Kansas City in the 80s because you did have a lot of 80s and early 90s. You had a lot of clubs in Kansas City where you could go dance. I remember, I used to love Heartbeats down in Westport. You had more options, more. I can't stand techno music. It gives me a headache. It's like I'm playing Mortal Kombat. You know, it's just that repetitive. You know, get over here. And but you had like Heartbeats and what was some of the other ones? Pogos and
Pogo.
yeah, you know, was it used to have like, you know, your country, when country kind of picked back up, you had places like a Guitar and Cattle Prods or whatever.
Applejacks.
AJ's.
Oh boy.
Moras on the weekends, you know, it was just, I miss those days, man. You had things to do. The drive-ins were still kicking. I remember, to me, the greatest radio station in Kansas City history was KY102. They had so much interaction with their audience, and used to love to go to the KY102 blowouts at the drive-ins, where they'd have those all-night movies, and people were out there getting all, you know, payaso and shit. I miss those days. Kansas City, you know, you've got a lot of places to go, but like a lot of them are, they're not individually owned like nowadays. It's like a conglomerate that kind of own several places, and they try to fancy them as different. All the places are owned by the same owners, and they, with a slight, you know, either like a cantina and some try to be like, you know, like an Irish bar to something to that effect, but they're all actually owned by the same people. There's no. I remember I used to love to go to Westport when I was younger, and one of the first votes I ever did was for the Power and Light, and it turned up being nothing like it was supposed to, like we were being sold. The Kemper Arena. I loved Kemper Arena. I saw most of the greatest bands that were intact in the original groups were down at the Kemper Arena. And then they act like they need this great big, remember this big arena we were going to get? It's going to be like 39,000 seats or something. We're going to get WrestleMania. We're going to get the Final Four. We were going to get, because they said the Kemper Arena was going to be the last time they did the Final Four in such a small arena. So this new arena downtown, which wound up being about the same seats as Camper Arena with no parking. And they lied to us like they always do. You know, it went from it was supposed to be like 38,000 seat arena down to they had miscalculated. They dropped it 10,000 seats, which was still bigger than Camp Arena. And then when it all was said and done, it was about the same thing without parking. That is what I don't like about Kansas City politics. I keep getting tired of saying we misfigured. Then if that's the thing that's happening, then we have incompetence in there. The city managers and everything like that. It's funny how nobody wants any of these bars or clubs in their neighborhood. Now, I grew up on the west side. You got family down there, and, you hung around the west side. And what I don't like is they didn't want to do any kind of street repairs or anything until the Crossroads came into town, and then now all of a sudden there's funding for this, there's funding for that, and there's not a week that goes by where I don't get people sending me do you want to sell your house? You know what? My house is my house. It's my version of a castle. It's all I have. I do not have billions to spend. You just want my property so you could tear down, rezone. Because you see an area that you can build Party Central between downtown to Westport to the plaza. I don't give a damn about we don't need, in my neighborhood, which is a viable neighborhood, I don't have a place where I can go, I don't have a grocery store. I have Mexican grocery stores that don't carry a lot of the products, basically, that I need on a day-to-day lifestyle. We don't have any, it's funny how in the poor neighborhoods you have an Aldi's or a Save-A-Lots. In the rich neighborhoods, you have an Aldi's or a Save-A-Lots. But on the west side, we don't have a legitimate grocery store. I don't like buying a $4 loaf of generic bread from a gas station. I don't have any place to buy drugs that are close. I always have to travel out of the neighborhood. I don't appreciate that. I don't need a place where I can drink all night. I need a place that can supply what I need to take care of my family. People need to think about that. I will never, ever, because the churches are there, I'll never sign for another liquor license. I can get liquor anywhere, anytime, day or night. Mm-hmm. I can buy all kinds of things that aren't good for me. I can't get necessities. So I'm here to preserve my neighborhood. I love the West Side, I believe it was an old German neighborhood, then it became an Irish and then Irish Hispanic. And it has history. It has a lot more history. Nobody wanted it, that neighborhood, when the cattle trucks were driving down 23rd Street or Cesar Chavez or whatever you want to call it today. Nobody wanted anything to do with that neighborhood when the urine and everything was dripping off those trucks and would cook in the sun. And when the rendering plants were going at the river, all the slaughterhouses, and they were boiling that. I remember every Sunday before church, you could smell that rendering factory. Nobody wanted anything to do with the West Side. Now that they're gone, I could still remember walking down over the bridge down there by the Kemper when they still had some of the stockyards and seeing those pens full of cattle and everything. That was amazing to me as a young kid. I remember going down with some of my friends from the West Side when we were young kids, when the American World Parade would come into town, and then they'd have the rodeo and everything. Mm-hmm. We used to walk down there and help brush the horses and the cattle and stuff for show, and that was enjoyable. I mean, I just did it for fun because I wanted to be around the animals. I love horses, still my favorite animal. It didn't cost you. It didn't cost you to have fun as a kid. I don't see kids outside playing because they're into AI and playing war games and stuff. Yeah, man, they never. I remember when kids were outside playing baseball on the lot, up at Gage Park playing around, going to Bartola's store to go get freeze pops and Johnny's Market and getting penny candy.
Them
and
days
stuff.
are gone.
Man, we'll never see them again.
No.
That's like kids talk about video games today. I said, yeah, but you know what? We had the first home video games. They look nothing compared. The video graphics aren't anything compared to what they have today.
Right.
But we had the first, and that's something these new kids these younger kids will never have, is the first. We lived when pinball was a game. That was it. We played pinball in the little.
Matter of fact, when I started playing pinball in it was probably 72, and it was in the back of the store, and you had to be 18 or older to go back there just to play pinball.
Right.
It was considered some kind of illegal gambling game or something. But you know what? That was then, and this is now. Here we are, man. Let's end on a high note right now, man. The KC way. We're gonna change it. Change it one more time, me and you, Chris.
That's
We're
it.
gonna change it. We're gonna change the Kansas City way one more time.
We're gonna remind people how things used to be. Yeah, you know what? Don't ever take anything for granted. Don't take life for granted. A lot of the people we grew up with, we thought they'd be here with us today, and they're not, and that saddens me. Lost a lot of good people who were. I want to give a shout out to a good friend of mine, Charlie Lona. Charlie Lona was one of our neighborhood advocates. He always fought for the West Side, and he always got me involved. And one of the things I liked about Charlie is even when I was a young man, probably 17 or something, Charlie always treated me like a man and always let me know that, do you love your neighborhood? You're the future of it. You keep, what belongs to you. You keep it going. You keep it in the spotlight. And I missed him because he never treated me like I didn't understand. And I understand so much more because of Charlie. And I miss some of the heroes, some of the men I looked up to that got me involved in local, I don't want to call it politics, but the situation of my neighborhood. I remember Northeast when I went to high school there. I love Northeast. It's nothing like I remember it. I still have some friends over there. I went from public school to Catholic school and Catholic school back to public school. I love my church. We want to remind you what used to be, what still is, and what could be. But, give us your opinion. Tell me where you're from. Let us know what concerns you have going forward for Kansas City, and what you wish we still had. You can look online, look on YouTube. You can see a lot of videos of projects that they're trying to set up for Kansas City that a lot of you may not know of. There's going to be a lot of these so-called areas. I don't know if you want to call them shopping or partying, but you can't keep tearing down neighborhoods to build something to fatten your wallet. You got to think of the citizens and the people of Kansas City. And one of the main things I want to stress before we sign off here is the health care for the mentally ill. There's a lot of people in Kansas City that need medication, need treatment. And while I'm saying this, the services and availability of places to go to continues to drop. They built Western Missouri for a reason, and now it's run by, I believe, Truman or University Health. It's only got 2 wards in that whole big giant building. Part of it, most of it is a school now. But while other facilities are closing, not just, they're not building new ones. And so I have a son who is, has, issues with mental illness. I love my son, but I have seen while dealing with my son that the necessities, the availability of help and counseling is dwindling greatly. And what is sad is that the workers who are still trying are being overworked. They are being stressed. I want to give a shout out to Truman Behavioral Health and University Health. But going there monthly with my son or to his various doctor's appointments and checkups, they are overwhelmed. They are overwhelmed, and you can't just push these people. When I was looking, when my son went disappearing, and I was looking for him this past year or so, I was saddened by how many homeless camps I came upon, overwhelmed by the amount of people. And what even saddened me more was I saw families, I saw little kids, I saw elderly, people that were handicapped, living in any conditions that they could make. Some of these little communities were really helping each other survive and looking out for each other. And other ones were every man for himself. But they're human beings, and you would sure cry about somebody abusing a dog. Well, dogs are a creation, but we can't sit there and look at people as an inconvenience. I've known people who were mentally ill, and cops would molest them and say that they were on drugs or something. They would harass them, saying that they were on drugs when in actuality they didn't have medication that they need. And it's a severe problem. It's a severe problem all throughout the United States. But I'm here in Kansas City and the surrounding areas, and believe me, it is very overwhelming. And a lot of these people living in these homeless camps, they need this attention.
They need some help. And, we're not asking everybody to give. You do what you can. If you want to give, go ahead and just send a check to me, and I'll make sure it gets to the right place. And do me a favor, keep the checks coming if you can. But let's just go on a good note right now.
Anyway, we love you, Kansas City, and we're looking out for everybody in Kansas City. If you have concerns or you want to say happy birthday or happy anniversary or rest in peace, we're here for it because every Kansas Citian is important to us. You may not like some of our takes, and we might not like some of your responses, but isn't going to make us hate anybody. That's your feelings, and you're entitled to them. Anyway, you have a good day, and we'll get back with you soon. And we're just trying to do it the KC way.
And this has been Steve and Chris with the KC Way. Hope to hear from you soon.
Have a good evening now.